ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Azeroth Daily for the 16th of December 2010. My name is TotalBiscuit, bringing you your daily dose of WoW news and comments. In the headlines today, the Feast of Wintervale has started once again, although you might be disappointed to know that it has really not been changed in any way, shape or form. So if you've done this stuff already, then you might not want to bother doing it again. You're not going to get an awful lot of benefit from it. However, if you are bored, because obviously Cataclysm doesn't have enough content for you to do already, you can go check out the wide variety of quests available, most of them starting in major cities. You'll also be perhaps unhappy to know that 3 bosses in Northrend still drop the red winter hats. In fact, 2 of them drop the red winter, and Mage Lord Aurum in the Oculus, of all places, drops the green winter hat. So, obviously, if you want to go back to Northrend, which I know many of you have been clamoring to do, then you need to go kill Grand Magus Telestra, Jaydoga Shadowseeker, and Mage Lord Aurum for your hat. Alternatively, you can go and do some Cataclysm dungeons for them instead, and the full details of everything that's available is in the description below this video. Latest round of hotfixes has come out, ladies and gentlemen, and my pick of the litter for this one would be the fact that now a lot of guards that would engage you if you tried to gank someone in their line of sight are now upgraded to the level of Furious Hyjal Wardens. Ouch. Yeah, those things really hurt, so you might want to be a little bit careful with that. As always, the full list of extensive changes available in the description below this video. The first heroic raid boss has been killed. It was Halfus Wyrmbreaker that went down, and I'm told he has an absurd DPS requirement. It's been killed by about 2 or 3 guilds so far, and I will give you a full update on Raid or Die next week as to the progress and the various tactics for these heroic bosses. Ghostcrawler has a new tanking blog out, and even if you aren't a tank, I would highly recommend you go and have a read of it, simply to get a couple of tips on how not to annoy the hell out of your main tank. Usually I find that's particularly helpful if you want to get some loot. And now it's time for your Daily Blues. After a particularly provocative and, in my opinion, somewhat hyperbolic statement by Vari that WoW is incredibly sexist, providing some examples that, quite frankly, are often taken out of context, Valorous closed down with a couple of bans, what could be considered to be a complete and total troll fest. Yeah, not the good kind either. It's rather sad, but also incredibly predictable that a debate like this cannot, in fact, be had on the WoW forums without it degenerating into a complete and total emotional bitching fest. Oh god, I wish I could say good things about the WoW forums, but I can't. I really can't. That said, the OP did not actually help her cause at all, considering that she seems to be taking things way too seriously. In this commentator's personal opinion, complaining about the male goblin silly that says she told me to tie her up and do whatever I wanted to her, so I took her stereo, is a little bit over the top, I feel, honestly. We're talking about a race that willingly sold each other into slavery, and indeed, while attempting to escape from Kezan, willingly let most of their kinsmen die in cages as their ship sunk around them and they escaped in the life pods. They are, let's be honest, a bunch of green cretinous bastards, and you shouldn't expect anything better from them. Bashiok has some important news confirming something we already knew, that the moon is in fact always the sheep target. Moon is sheep, let it be written, says Bashiok. I have to agree. And sadly, this one not quite as amusing from Bashiok, but useful nonetheless. The working as a team guild achievement actually does require archaeology. Now, that's not in the tooltip at the moment, so most people are thinking, well, why can't we get it? We've got all of this and it's not working. That's going to be fixed in a future patch, but yes, archaeology is a requirement for the guild achievement working as a team. And now it's time for your daily grind. This is one for the masochistic amongst you, or perhaps those who just like seeing a gnome punted around all over the place. It's a quest about halfway through the gnomish starting area. It's called Missing in Action. Now, it's not the quest that actually gets me here, it's the mobs. You're fighting against these trogs who constantly punt you all over the place. Now, as much as I enjoy seeing gnomes punted, it's kind of annoying if you're the guy who's getting the punting. Yeah, it's a little unpleasant, and it makes this quest an awful lot harder than it should be. And now it's time for your weekly feature. Today it's Mod Your WoW. In Mod Your WoW this week, we're going to be taking a look at something that's going to be helpful for you if you are into, in any respect, archaeology. It's called Archie, and it's got a number of interesting features. One of the best things about it is the fact that it tracks your dig sites. It will tell you exactly where your current dig sites are depending on the continent you're on. It will also integrate with something called TomTom, which is another mod, which you will have to download for this to happen, which will give you a GPS-style arrow pointing you in the direction of where you need to go and telling you how long it's going to take you in order to get there. It'll tell you how many fragments you've taken from each dig site. It'll also track your research progress all on the screen simultaneously. So that's really, really helpful. And apparently, if you've got what you need to solve it, you can just click a button and it'll do that without you having to go into the menus. Very handy to have, and I don't really see anything too bad about this mod at all. I was looking through it, all the functionality seems to be there, there's quite a few options. Just bear in mind, of course, that you will have to download the TomTom mod as well if you want some of the neat integration. Links for these mods are below in the description. And now it's time for the mailbox. This one comes in from Razzler, who says, "Hi TB, I'm writing this email to express my concern at the distinct lack of communication that I found during instances with other players. I play as a pally tank, and as a newer player who has been playing WoW for just over 2 months, I find this incredibly frustrating, since I have no clue where to go unless I've run it before or what to expect from a boss. I'm aware that many players who I have run instances with so far are likely to have some prior experience, and thus I make them aware that I'm unfamiliar with the instance as soon as I enter. However, they seem to ignore what I say and have on occasion blamed me for causing a wipe in which there were circumstances beyond my control. I try to research my dungeons online when possible, but I often run random dungeons, so there's only so much I can actually remember. I'm fortunate that I'm in a guild consisting mostly of people that I know in real life. However, they're getting stuck into Cataclysm content, and I'm stuck in TBC content for the time being. I ask this question because I assume that there are a lot of newer WoW players who are in a similar situation, and I would like some advice. Well, to cut a long story short, unfortunately, a lot of people in WoW are absolute pricks. I'm sorry, this is the case. This is reality, I'm afraid. They will not be willing to help you. They are trying to level up as quickly as possible. Most of these guys are playing alts, and they want to clear, particularly TBC content, very, very quickly. I mean, here's the problem. Before the release of Cataclysm, TBC content was alright relative to the other stuff, but now it is the worst content in the game. There's no question about it. It has by far the worst leveling content now, which means that people are just trying to get through it as rapidly as possible. And they're doing so mostly by running dungeons to avoid having to go into the questing zones. So they want speed. All they want is speed. They want to get through it as quickly as possible. It's a necessary evil. They're probably not even enjoying it, which I don't really blame them for, honestly. Really, it's something Blizzard has to look into. That leveling content is dire now, and that bracket, that 10 level bracket, is abysmal, and most people don't want to go anywhere near it. There really isn't an awful lot of advice I can actually give you on this issue, simply because there isn't a clear fix for it beyond running with guildies. And of course, you've got guildies that are in Cataclysm content now. You are literally at the worst possible time for doing this. You really are, because everyone wants to do the new content. Nobody's even bothering with alts. They're still trying to get to 85, doing the content, giving up their mains. Later on, this won't be so much of an issue for you, but right now, you're just going to have to grin and bear it. I'm sorry, there is no way around it. And honestly, you have to also understand these guys' point of view. They want to get through this stuff really fast, as quickly as possible. Yeah, you're right, they should be paying attention to what you're saying, but at the end of the day, they probably won't, and there's nothing you can do to change that. Next mail coming in from Samantha, who says, "I found something in-game you might like, and it's slightly disturbing, but also rather hilarious. On a plateau technically in northwest Mulgore, on the side next to Desolus, there are 3 types of critters: prairie dogs, mice, and rabbits. They will randomly mutate and kill each other." So, yes, I'm aware of these. I actually watched these on a Jesse Cox video, but I never bothered to film it myself. This is a perfect opportunity to have a look at it. You see some footage in the background right here. Yes, this is in northwest Mulgore. So these creatures will randomly grow huge, and some of them are armed. The rabbits run around with these axes in their mouths, and you've also got creatures with helmets and dual-wielding hand cannons. It's a little bit silly, and of course they also kill each other. You don't generally see a full-on war between these things. The bigger ones tend to pick on the little ones, but then the little ones become big ones and start picking on them. It's some this is Bashiok's fault, isn't it? Let's be totally honest here. Moon is sheep. let it be written. Okay, folks, that's your Azeroth Daily for today. Don't forget that the contest this week for the postcards from Azeroth, which is give me the best photo you can involving those crazy sunbeams that are now in Cataclysm, will be closing tomorrow. So that right there is when the winner is going to be announced. Post your entry on the Facebook page. That's the only place I'm paying attention to, folks. I know I don't use Facebook. Yeah, but I am also really busy and I can't afford to check 50 million sources for these things. It's the same thing with the mailbox, by the way. If you send me a PM on YouTube, I will not read it. I'm sorry, I won't. If it's about the mailbox, it has to go into the email. I can't keep track otherwise. There are just too many. Anyway, folks, I would usually cap off the show right now, but this is kind of a little bit of an extra thing on the end. This is just in regards to something I read over on Reddit, unsurprisingly. And it was a post by someone called Depressed Santa, and obviously this person is anonymous. And they were involved in the Reddit Secret Santa. Now, what is the Reddit Secret Santa? Well, basically, you get matched up with some random person that's signed up to it, and you send gifts over. Just like your office Secret Santa, only on a much grander scale. And most of the time, it's pretty cool. However, this guy went all out for his Santee, who happens to be a WoW player. Indeed, the listed interests were anime, WoW, and weed. Right. Sounds like a real winner. Whatever the case, he went all out. He made a traveler's backpack, which he then filled with mana potions and energy drinks and stuff, all WoW-themed stuff. He had to import it. So, you know, he really went all out with this gift and put in effort far beyond what most people do for these kind of things. Sent it over, and what did the guy do? He posted up something that said, yeah, approximate value of these, about $2, really disappointed, waste of time, crappy gift. Which is unbelievable. It really is. It's absolutely unbelievable. And I want to apologize on behalf of the entire WoW player base that more often than not we are represented by douchebags like that. Really. Honestly. It's horrible. It is utterly insufferable and unacceptable. So I did speak to this guy. And I asked him, you know, what can I do to make this better? And he didn't want anything, but he asked for some recommendations for his girlfriend, who apparently is a WoW player as well. So I gave him a few recommendations, and because, you know, this is my job and this is how I make my income, I thought it was only fair to dedicate some of the income that I'm earning to making sure that he gets some great gifts for his WoW-playing girlfriend. So I sent over these right here, which are all loot cards that I managed to get a hold of, and these should unlock some cool in-game items. So, to Depressed Santa and his girlfriend, Happy Christmas from Azeroth Daily. My name's been TotalBiscuit. I'll see you next time.